All right, good afternoon. Exactly 35 minutes past the hour of 12. Welcome back. It is still your favorite show, the Midday Show, right here on your number one talk radio station, Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Paula Chine. It is time for parenting today. If you are perhaps a parent or you're planning to be, even scrap that. If you are a guardian, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a guardian, you just want to be that adult who knows what to do and who's doing the right thing for a child's benefit. Trust me, this is your one-stop shop. Parenting today is where we get to look at all things parenting. No one's perfect, no one knows it all, but I believe I have met someone who's the closest to perfection as regards expertise when it comes to parenting. And she's going to be joining me. Thankfully, she is my co-host. Now, she is none other than Miss Yetty Williams, who is the CEO of Lagos Moms, a.k.a. Global Moms, a.k.a. Now You Know, and you know. All right. So I'm going to have her join me virtually. Good afternoon, Miss Yetty Williams. Hi.
Hello, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm fine.
Compliments of the season.
Compliments. I'm always excited when I have you on the show because I'm like, okay, now we're going to be great parents. How are you? How's it going for you? How's the end of the year for you? How's it going?
Good. We thank God. Shutting down for the year, just trying to make sure, when you work for yourself, if you're not careful, you're working around the clock nonstop.
True. And why do I...
Important.
Why?
Sorry?
I said, why do you come off as someone who loves working? I don't know. I don't believe I'm wrong. You seem like you enjoy working so much, I must say, Miss. Yes.
For me, and I think there was a time when I was talking about this more, and I called it my 3 Ps.
Oh, okay.
My passion to purpose to
wow.
profit story, which is really when I moved from working just to earn to actually living out what I'm passionate about, and that then became my work. And in that direction, you're absolutely right. It doesn't feel like work, but then I had to train myself to say, it is still work, and you deserve and you need to take a break to rest, to recoup, So it's been a journey, and you're right. It doesn't feel like work, and I absolutely love what I do. And I think for me, it's a blessing to have been able to combine passion with what is work for me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. See me smiling like I'm your child or your husband. It's like, I'm so proud of you, but I'm like, wow, I'm happy you're passionate about what you do. And thank you on behalf of all our listeners and myself. I say a big thank you for taking out the time to, go through all of the hassle just to refine and sift what's not needed and bring us finely detailed knowledge as regards parenting. Now, today's topic is exceptionally interesting because, to be fair, Miss Yetty, it's an unfortunate menace, but it's here. A lot of homes are currently experiencing tension, which sometimes degenerates into these homes being broken up. So today's topic is focusing on the kids from this type of home, and the topic being, are children from broken homes broken? I really want to know, because sometimes I hear that, kids from broken homes are more likely to commit crime. Kids from broken homes are more likely to be mass shooters, to be suicidal. I'm really very fascinated with it, and it breaks my heart. But coming from a parenting expert, you, who's in a better position to tell us what really the impact of a broken home does have on a child, I would love to hear firsthand from you.
Yeah, so absolutely. Broken homes, and I want to look at it from two hats. One is the broken home itself, which, what does that even mean? And then what about the broken family? We're going to look at the two. A broken home is what you can see. And, depending on who you ask, generally a broken home means a home where it's not a 2-parent home, right? It's not a mother and a father in a home raising the children for whatever reason. And typically it's not from something unfortunate happening, like somebody passing. It's more because, there's separation or divorce. They're no longer married, and therefore it's a broken home. Right. And when it's a broken home, some of the things you've mentioned quickly in terms of, delinquency, maybe more crimes being carried out by children from these types of homes, is that there was also broken family involved, and there was failed parenting as well. So it's not the home can be broken because unfortunately the parent relationship didn't work out. However, the intentionality that those parents take in terms of how they then raise those children is what makes them either quote unquote broken, or they can still thrive and be, grow up into adults who contribute positively to the world. And the question really is that invisible bridge between, if a marriage relationship breaks down, does that then mean that those children, quote unquote, are doomed to, misbehavior, delinquency, or not being able to have healthy relationships themselves? It doesn't have to be A equals to B. But it is that intentionality to say a broken home doesn't have to lead to a broken family, which leads to broken children. That is what we're trying to discuss here today, and say it is possible. It is harder work, but it is definitely possible to ensure that a child or children, quote unquote, from a broken home, failed marriage, doesn't mean that those children are then doomed to misbehave in the future.
Wow. Thank you so much for just clearing the air on that. It's amazing to know that sometimes not everyone is a victim of, their immediate surroundings and just the crisis in these surroundings. So, Miss Yetty, I like that you also said you were going to talk about what a broken home is. In this part of the world, do you believe that, the terms we give is such as, parents are separated, or they're not living together? Does it do justice to, how severe this might be when it comes to using the term a broken home? What really is it? Can you just kindly elaborate on it?
When you look at broken homes, for me, it's also very closely aligned to a broken family. And I want to use one case study to talk about this quickly, to paint the story. So, there was a story I heard about of a family where the parents had separated and the father moved out. However, they told the children that daddy had just traveled. So the children were like, is this particular traveling a different one? Because daddy typically used to travel, go and come. But this particular traveling, is he not going to come back? Why is this such a long trip? So for the parents, they thought they were protecting the children by not telling them, right? That the parent relationship had, disintegrated to the point where they were doing a trial separation. And so therefore the father was away from the family for that period. But they didn't tell the children. What ended up happening is the children then became very nervous, were worried, didn't really then believe their parents that nothing was going on. Some of the children started thinking, maybe daddy had actually died and they didn't want to tell them. That started having negative effects on the children. They couldn't concentrate in school. They were nervous. They were worried. They didn't really know what happened. Anytime they tried to bring it up, their mother would shut them down and all of that. But if you ask that family, maybe they will say, but they're not divorced now, right? They're just doing a trial separation. However, the impact on the children's emotional state was breaking them.
Wow.
So that's a simple example where we think, parents can just have whatever kind of relationship they have. They don't owe the children a healthy environment. They just decide how they are dealing with their disintegrating relationship and don't think that it affects the children. If those parents don't fix that situation positively, those children are going to have lingering, long-term, emotional dysregulation, basically, when it comes to thinking about what a healthy marriage looks like because of that experience they've had. Fortunately, in that scenario, they got to talk to a family coach, therapist who was able to say, you guys can continue like this. Even if your marriage eventually makes it and you come back together after this trial separation, you can't leave the children in the dark and think that they're going to thrive. The minute they sat those children down and explained what was going on, the children changed. They were like, okay, while it was still painful to know that their parents are going through this, they had understanding of what was happening a little bit. And they understood that, okay, this was a period and we're going to see how it goes. And then the children continued to get the support they needed during this period. So that is just one example of when we say people have quote unquote separated or not separated. It is the actions of those two adults that really determine whether or not this child or children in a setting of what we're calling a broken relationship, a broken home as a result of a marriage that has broken down, those children don't have to also be broken. But the parents have to be intentional to say, you know what, we might have made this decision. We as parents might have gotten here, but for the sake of our children, this is our plan to make sure that they do not negatively suffer from this scenario we're in.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Miss Yetty. Now, very quickly, I want to ask, let's be honest, is there ever a good way to break such news to kids with like that would have them see light to the situation as opposed to just having them downcast? I don't know. Is there any way? Is there any way that you can actually explain to kids and, get them to understand the impact of such decision and what it's going to be doing?
It depends on how you break it down. Let's realize that, everybody's going to go through all the emotions in this world, right? Regularly. So it is a tough discussion, right? No doubt about it. So we're not going to say, if you tell the children what is going on, obviously, based on their level of understanding and their age, you have to be appropriate for the age. What you tell a 5-year-old is very different from what you tell a 15-year-old, right? However, whatever emotion they feel, you cannot preempt it, or you can't say, because I don't want them to be sad, I'm not going to tell them anything. Because for those children who are then in the dark, whose brains are now making up all kinds of scenarios and narratives, because that's what happens. If you don't tell them what's really happening, the children can sense there's something going on in the house. You don't talk about it and manage those emotions. The children are going to create their own story. And that's when you see many adults later that we work with who, they don't have healthy relationships. They can't have healthy relationships as adults because in their formative years or when they were teenagers, what they saw around them in terms of their mom and dad's relationship was so messy that they don't know how to have healthy relationships. Oh, wow. So I want to say that again, that sometimes in thinking you're protecting the children by not telling them what's going on, and you leave them to start painting a picture in their head of what they think they are seeing, the picture they paint might be uglier than if you just told them, mom and dad are currently going through some challenges. That happens sometimes. But we want you to know that no matter what, mom and dad really love you. And we're going to make sure that you're okay through this all. And while this is a difficult time for us now as a family, you know what, we want you to know that no matter what, you can count on us. Something like that. That is simple enough.
Wow. Thank you so much. Although, to be honest, I feel like, when it comes to explaining things and breaking news, I feel like I'm a bit of a coward when it's not, pleasant news. So I was just wondering, but Miss Yetty, why don't we open up the phone lines? Because I do believe some of our listeners might be facing some might actually have marriages, unions that they're currently separated from their partners. And they might have questions as regards to their kids, because we know that, how they say when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So most times, I know that back in the days, most people will try to just stay in a marriage, in quotes, for the sake of the kids, no matter how unbearable, because they believe that, they didn't want the kids second guessing or suffering in any way. So let's put this out to our listeners. You can join. Oh, someone says, I'm just tuning in and I've missed more than half. We got you covered. But if you want to join the conversation, so today we're focusing the topic on children, and not just children, but broken homes. As always, Miss Yetty, doing what she does best is presenting a two-sided story, like killing two birds with one stone. So we're finding out, are children from broken homes really broken? And the truth is, she's also breaking down what a broken home, in quote, really does mean, and the impact is going to have on a child, and how you need to make that known, carry your kids along so they're not left second guessing or just trying to figure things out. It's a lot on a child. So if you want to join the conversation, please do so. For those who want to join via WhatsApp, now WhatsApp, you can send a voice note or a message. The number for WhatsApp is 0809 234 5913. If you want to join the conversation via the phone lines, Miss Yetty is on deck. She's going to be here to field off your questions and grant you quality advice, all of that free. You want to be a better parent, you can call the numbers 0809 222 0913. 0809 234 5913. and 015151913. Someone says, hello, Paula and Yetty. I'm just tuning in now, so I've missed more than half of today's show. I hope it will be available on podcast. That's Taiwo from Dolphin. Yes, it is going to be available. You can also reach out to Lagos Moms. You should go to their website. Miss Yetty, I do believe we have off-air dubs of this as well, right?
Yes, we get them.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so Taiwo, you haven't missed much. And Taiwo, if you have questions as regards and all other listeners, perhaps you and your partner are separated, or unfortunately you're planning to take that route, you can call in and ask questions. Miss Yetty is going to kindly answer them. Lagos Talks, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. What's your name?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, what's your name?
Okay, my name is Nike.
It's Lizzie.
Nike.
Oh, Nike. Oh, Nike. All right, Nike. Miss Yetty is here as well. She can hear you. You can go on.
Okay, well, I was just going to say that it's really not about, whether or not the two parents are together.
Okay.
It's a function of parenting. You can have both parents there, but if they are not responsible, then the children will not have people to guide them, and then they'll go astray. But if, whatever happens and parents don't have to be together, then they know they have to speak up with parenting. Whoever, has the custody of the children has to sit up and ensure that, she's on her knees, begging God and taking care of the children. Because, it may not be a broken home. It could be the loss of a spouse. Or, it could be anything. But at the end of the day, it's all about parenting. And parenting, you've never gone that way before. So how really, would you say, you are going to parent if you haven't had, if you haven't been trained on it before? So truly, it's all about God. You trusting God and being a responsible parent, being a trained parent, and putting the children in the will of the Lord. Always putting the God factor ahead. It's very important.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Nika. Thank you for that. All right. Have an amazing day. Thank you.
You too. Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
Awesome.
Wow. Miss Yetty. Wow.
You're going to have to paraphrase that for me. I didn't fully hear it properly.
So,
I got bits and pieces of what she said, but if you can kind of summarize what her comment was.
So basically, she's saying basically when it comes to separations and the like, it's how they say sometimes you can never see the good from it, and basically she's saying that you have to depend on God when it comes to the well-being of the children and just how everything's going to turn out in the end. So you have to just depend on God and leave it in God's hands, because sometimes these things are beyond your control.
Okay, I'm a person of faith, and I definitely believe that obviously you can't do anything and you can't succeed in this life without God at the center of it all. However, I do believe that we need to identify the gaps in our lives and know where we need capabilities and we need support. So if, for example, this is a scenario where maybe parents don't necessarily know how to handle this new phase, yes, there's a prayer perspective, but I believe that God also would then either bring people into your life sometimes that have I don't want to call it expertise, but frankly, the expertise to say, this is a new season. You've never faced this before. You are going to need some kind of support to make sure that you actually go through it properly. Because when people are going through tough times, sometimes their emotions are the last things you can't trust your emotions sometimes, because the emotions are reacting to what is going on in your life, and you might therefore not make the best decisions. So you definitely need people in your corner who have expertise to help you based on the stage that you are in. And I think that's one thing I want more people in general to just normalize, is that at different stages in your life, there might be things that are beyond your capabilities, are beyond what you know how to do. You need to have faith. You need to trust that God will lead you. But I believe as well that you need people, and we need to normalize getting the expertise, the support we need for different seasons. It's not forever. But if you're in a season that is hot, you're going to need help. You're going to need help to help you through that hot season. So that, like the topic we're talking about today, the children are not the ones that negatively suffer from that situation. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty, for clarifying on that. Someone, Taiwo from the mainland says, I didn't want our 3 boys to grow up in a separated home. So I bore a lot of indignities. I wept and I was strong 2 years after. I don't know where they are, but I'll find my boys someday. Miss Yetty, I feel like this is such a sensitive topic in a sense that, to be very fair, I feel like there's this quiet, there's this code of unspoken rules when it comes to just outwardly speaking on broken homes and the impact in Nigeria. Do you agree? Yes. Do you agree on that? There's still this hush about it, and there's a stigma.
I absolutely agree. And I think one of the things that I want to even talk about is there's broken home, but then there's also broken family, and there's broken people.
Wow.
So if a broken person, you might not physically leave, but you might be such a broken mom or dad living in a broken home, and therefore it is a broken family.
Oh, wow.
Staying all in the name of saying, I don't want my children to grow up, quote and unquote, in a broken home. If they are growing up in a broken family, they're already in a broken home. You're all just physically there. So some parents will say, they took all sorts from their dads or from the husband. And I'm going to be a bit gender biased now, because a lot of the stories we hear are women who say, you know what, they will stomach it all just for their children. However, those children saw mom in pain, saw mom broken, saw mom crying, upset, taking their abuse, however their abuse has shown up. We had a show a few sessions ago about domestic abuse and how it's not only physical. So it's words, it's verbal, it's a toxic environment. If those children see mom taking that, you have 2 options that sometimes happen. You have children who think, okay, if mom could take it, then maybe this is how it is. They will then go on to either be the perpetrators of those behavior, or there will be children who take that kind of abuse because they think, well, their mom took it for their sake. So they would then feel like in their own time, they should also take abuse because their mom took it. That's one. The other side will be people who then sometimes they grow up and they hate the other parent for putting their mom or dad through that. So I want that to resonate and sit with all of us listening to this whenever you listen to it, is that you can be a broken person. You say you are staying, but you're actually in a broken home and that family is also broken. So that's triple breaking. Versus if the person who's really going through the pain says, you know what has disintegrated is the relationship. That doesn't mean you need to become a broken person, become a shell of yourself. Then your children don't get the best of you. Your children don't get the parent who's the victim. Even the person who's actually the abuser, they too, they're a victim of something. Right? Somebody who has been who was raised in a healthy environment is not going to abuse their partner.
Yeah,
you say you love.
You know how they say hurt people hurt people?
Exactly. And only healed people can live thriving life. So you have to heal, whether you're the one doing the abuse or the one receiving the abuse, the one who has told yourself that story that if you leave, your children will be from broken home and you don't want that. But have you ever asked yourself, is the environment they are growing in actually healthy? Are they learning what they should about healthy relationships? If it is not, something has to shift. Something has to give. So I think, like you said, there's still this, because there's so many families, so many marriages that quote and unquote, they are separated but seem to be together. The children are seeing all of this now.
True.
And then they grow up and then, you start to see some of these repeated patterns and the person is saying, but I always told myself I wouldn't be like my dad. But then they just become like that because they didn't learn how to have him